On June 2, 2026, the world seemed to pause. 4 million of music lovers across generations. The news arrived like a sudden storm on an otherwise peaceful day. Phones lit up with alerts. Radio stations interrupted their programming. Television anchors struggled to maintain their composure. The voice that had defined countless memories had fallen silent. Peabo Bryson was gone. At the age of 75, the legendary singer whose unforgettable performances had touched hearts around the world passed away, leaving behind a legacy that few artists could ever hope to match. Within minutes, social media became a sea of grief. Fans from every corner of the globe posted memories of first dances, weddings, anniversaries, and cherished moments that had been accompanied by Peabo's music. Many shared old concert photos. Others uploaded clips of themselves singing along to the songs that had become the soundtrack of their lives. The comments were filled with disbelief. "His voice got me through my hardest days. I grew up listening to him with my parents. There will never be another Peabo Bryson." The sorrow was universal. For decades, Peabo Bryson had captivated audiences with a voice that seemed capable of expressing every human emotion. Whether performing heartfelt ballads or powerful duets, he possessed a rare ability to make listeners feel as though he were singing directly to them. His catalog of music became woven into the fabric of American culture. Songs that once echoed through living rooms, wedding receptions, and car radios suddenly carried a new meaning. Now they sounded like memories. As tributes poured in, fellow musicians shared emotional messages honoring not only his talent but also his character. Many described him as humble. Others remembered his generosity. Several artists spoke about how he had mentored younger performers without seeking recognition. One legendary singer wrote that Peabo's voice was a gift from heaven. Another called him one of the last true gentlemen of the music industry. The admiration was overwhelming. Yet behind every public tribute was a quieter reality. A family was grieving. Friends were mourning. And a woman who had shared her life with him was preparing to say goodbye. Days later, under a brilliant summer sky, that farewell would finally take place. The funeral was held in a breathtaking outdoor memorial garden. The setting seemed almost unreal. Rows of pristine white roses stretched across the grounds like a blanket of soft clouds. Elegant arrangements of lilies and orchids surrounded the pathways. Towering trees offered shade to visitors who slowly made their way toward the ceremony. The morning sun illuminated every flower. A gentle breeze drifted through the branches overhead. For a brief moment, nature itself seemed to stand still. Soft instrumental versions of Peabo Bryson's greatest hits floated through hidden speakers placed throughout the garden. The melodies were instantly recognizable. Guests paused as familiar notes reached their ears. Many closed their eyes. Some smiled through tears. Others quietly wept. The music transformed the memorial into something more than a funeral. It became a celebration of a remarkable life. Hundreds of mourners arrived dressed in black. They came from every chapter of Peabo's journey. Family members, close friends, music executives, former collaborators, fans who had traveled hundreds of miles simply to pay their respects. Some carried flowers. Others carried photographs. Many carried memories that words could never fully express. Near the entrance, family members greeted guests with quiet embraces. There were no grand speeches, no dramatic displays, only the silent understanding shared between people experiencing the same heartbreaking loss. Throughout the garden, conversations unfolded in hushed voices. Stories were exchanged. Laughter occasionally emerged between tears as guests remembered Peabo's warmth, humor, and kindness. One friend recalled his generosity. Another remembered his infectious smile. A longtime musician described how Peabo always made everyone feel important, no matter who they were. As the ceremony drew closer, anticipation quietly spread through the crowd. People knew there would be tributes. They knew there would be music. They knew there would be memories. But everyone was waiting for one particular moment. One voice. One person. Seated near the front, surrounded by family, was Peabo Bryson's beloved wife, Tanya Boniface. Her face reflected both strength and unimaginable sorrow. Throughout the morning, guests occasionally glanced in her direction. Many wondered how she was managing to remain composed. Others wondered whether she would be able to speak at all. Because Tanya carried something no one else could offer. She carried the story of the man behind the legend, the husband behind the celebrity, the private memories hidden from public view. And before this day was over, she would step forward and share those memories with the world. What she was about to say would leave an entire garden in tears. It would become the most unforgettable moment of the entire farewell. And no one present was prepared for what was coming next. As the final notes of the instrumental music faded into the warm afternoon air, a profound silence settled over the memorial garden. Hundreds of mourners turned their attention toward the podium at the front of the gathering. For several seconds, no one moved. Then Tanya Boniface slowly rose from her seat. A visible wave of emotion passed through the crowd. Dressed in an elegant black gown, Tanya carried herself with quiet grace despite the pain written across her face. This was not merely a wife preparing to deliver a speech. This was a woman preparing to speak publicly about the greatest loss of her life. When she finally reached the microphone, she paused. The silence became almost overwhelming. A gentle breeze stirred the white roses surrounding the ceremony. Tears immediately filled her eyes. She looked out across the sea of faces before her. For a moment, it seemed she might not be able to speak. When her voice finally emerged, it was soft and trembling. "Thank you all for being here." She stopped. A deep breath. Another pause. Already, many in the audience were wiping away tears. Peabo spent his entire life sharing his voice with the world, she continued. Today, I want to share the man I knew when the stage lights turned off. The crowd listened in complete silence. She smiled gently. He wasn't the legend everyone saw. Her voice cracked. He was something even more special. Tanya lowered her head briefly before continuing. He was my best friend. The words struck the audience with extraordinary force. Several family members immediately reached for tissues. Close friends bowed their heads. The emotion in the garden became impossible to ignore. For the next several minutes, Tanya painted a portrait of a man very few people had ever known. She spoke about quiet mornings together, about conversations that lasted long into the night, about ordinary moments that became extraordinary simply because they shared them together. He never cared about being famous, she said. He cared about people. The statement drew nods from those who knew him best. Tanya described how Peabo remembered birthdays, called friends during difficult times, and checked on loved ones even while traveling across the country. He had this beautiful habit, she said with a faint smile. Whenever someone was hurting, he somehow always knew. Again she paused. Again, tears appeared. The crowd waited patiently. No one wanted her to rush. No one wanted the moment to end. After composing herself, Tanya continued. People often asked him what his greatest achievement was. A small smile crossed her face. They expected him to mention awards. She shook her head. That was never his answer. Another pause. He always said his greatest achievement was the people he loved. The crowd began openly crying. Several musicians seated near the front exchanged emotional glances. Many had performed alongside Peabo for decades. They recognized the truth in every word. Tanya then spoke about his devotion to family. She described holidays spent together, family dinners filled with laughter, moments when the world-famous singer became simply a husband, father, relative, and friend. He taught us that success means nothing if you don't have someone to share it with. A murmur of agreement spread through the audience. The lesson sounded simple. Yet coming from Tanya, it carried enormous weight. As her tribute continued, she reflected on Peabo's lifelong relationship with music. The very thing that made him famous was also what brought him the greatest joy. He never stopped loving music, she said. Not once. Her eyes drifted toward the white floral arrangements surrounding the memorial. He treated every song as a gift. She smiled through tears. And every audience as family. The crowd responded with gentle applause. Many could no longer contain their emotions. But then Tanya reached the most heartbreaking portion of her tribute. Her voice became softer, more fragile, and the entire garden leaned forward. Even in his final days, she said quietly, Peabo worried more about the people he loved than himself. A wave of tears swept through the audience. Several mourners covered their faces. Others openly sobbed. Tanya herself struggled to continue. For nearly 10 seconds, she stood silently behind the podium, fighting for composure, gathering strength. Finally, she spoke again. When he was tired, when he was struggling. Her voice broke completely. She stopped. The crowd waited. Many cried alongside her. After a long moment, she found the strength to continue. He kept asking if everyone else was okay. The words shattered what little composure remained among the mourners. Family members embraced each other. Friends lowered their heads. Musicians who had spent decades performing before thousands suddenly found themselves unable to stop crying. Tanya wiped tears from her face. Then she looked toward the sky, as though searching for him, as though hoping he could hear every word. And then she revealed something that instantly captured everyone's attention. Something no one had ever heard before. A private memory. A deeply personal story she had never shared with the public. Not with reporters. Not with fans. Not with anyone outside the family. The garden became silent once again. Every eye fixed upon her. Every heart waited. Tanya took a deep breath. Her hands trembled slightly as she gripped the sides of the podium. "There's one final memory," she whispered. "A memory I've carried in my heart ever since our last days together." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "When I tell you what happened." She paused. "You'll understand exactly who Peabo really was." The crowd held its breath. And then Tanya prepared to tell the story that would become the most emotional moment of the entire funeral. The memorial garden stood in complete silence. Not a single voice interrupted the moment. Not a single movement distracted from the woman standing at the podium. Tanya Boniface looked out at the hundreds of mourners gathered before her. Tears glistened in her eyes as she struggled to find the words. Then she began. It happened just a few days before he passed. The crowd leaned forward. He was tired. She paused. Very tired. A gentle breeze moved through the white flowers surrounding the ceremony. The sunlight filtered through the trees above, casting soft shadows across the faces of those listening. Tanya took a slow breath. We were sitting together quietly. There was no music playing. No visitors. No television. Her voice trembled. It was just the two of us. Many in the audience were already crying. They understood that they were about to hear something profoundly personal. Something sacred. Tanya smiled softly through her tears. He reached for my hand. The garden remained silent. And then he looked at me the way he always did. She paused. The way that made me feel like I was the only person in the world. A wave of emotion swept through the audience. Several family members lowered their heads. Others clutched tissues tightly in their hands. Tanya continued. He told me not to be afraid. Her voice cracked. For a moment, she could not continue. When she finally spoke again, tears rolled down her cheeks. He said, "Tanya, don't spend your days being sad for me. Spend them being grateful for the love we shared." The crowd broke down. Open sobs echoed throughout the memorial garden. Friends embraced one another. Family members held hands. Even some of the musicians seated near the front wiped tears from their faces. Yet Tanya was not finished. He told me something else. She looked toward the sky. A faint smile appeared. He said, "Love doesn't end when a person leaves the room." The words struck the audience with extraordinary force. Many mourners openly wept. Others simply stared ahead, overwhelmed by emotion. Tanya pressed a hand against her heart. He said, "Love stays." Another pause. He said, "Love finds new ways to speak." Then Tanya revealed the final conversation they shared. He told me he wasn't worried about himself. She shook her head gently. Not once. Even near the end, Peabo's thoughts remained focused on others. He asked me to take care of the family. Her voice softened. He wanted everyone to stay close. She smiled through tears. He wanted laughter to remain in our home. The audience nodded as they listened. That sounded exactly like the man they knew. But then came the words that touched everyone present. Tanya's voice became barely above a whisper. He asked me to thank his fans. The crowd fell silent once again. He said they gave him a beautiful life. Tears streamed down countless faces. He said every letter, every concert, every kind word mattered to him. The audience responded with emotional murmurs. Many fans in attendance openly cried. For decades, they had supported him. Now they were hearing how much that support had truly meant. Tanya continued. He said music had brought strangers together. She looked across the gathering, and he believed it would continue bringing people together long after he was gone. A powerful stillness settled over the memorial. The message felt larger than the moment itself, larger than grief, larger than loss. It felt like hope. Then Tanya revealed the final words he ever spoke to her. Her voice trembled. The crowd held its breath. He looked at me. Tears filled her eyes once more. And he said. She paused. Whenever someone hears one of my songs and smiles, I'll still be there. The words shattered what little composure remained. Across the garden, mourners openly wept. Friends buried their faces in their hands. Musicians who had spent careers entertaining audiences found themselves unable to stop crying. Family members embraced one another tightly. For several moments, Tanya stood silently behind the podium. The crowd rose to its feet. One person stood, then another, until the entire memorial garden was standing. A thunderous ovation filled the air. Not for a performance, not for a celebrity, but for a life, for a legacy, for a man who had given so much of himself to the world. Tanya stepped away from the podium as applause echoed through the garden. Many guests continued crying as they clapped. Others simply looked toward the portrait of Peabo Bryson displayed among the white flowers. Then came the ceremony's final tribute. A group of attendants stepped forward carrying baskets. Many guests watched through tears. Soft instrumental music began playing once again. The familiar melodies drifted through the garden. Guests exchanged stories. Friends shared memories. Former colleagues recalled unforgettable performances. Fans spoke about how Peabo's songs had accompanied some of the most important moments of their lives. Although the ceremony was ending, his presence felt everywhere. In every story, in every smile through tears, in every note of music floating through the afternoon air. As the crowd slowly began to leave, one truth remained clear. Peabo Bryson's voice had done far more than entertain. It had comforted, inspired, united, and loved. His extraordinary career had touched countless lives across generations. His music had become part of people's personal histories. His kindness had earned him admiration far beyond the stage. And the love he shared with family, friends, and fans would continue long after this farewell. Because legends are not remembered only for what they achieved. They are remembered for how they made people feel. And few artists ever made people feel as deeply as Peabo Bryson. The memorial garden eventually grew quiet. The flowers remained. The sunlight lingered. And somewhere, softly carried on the breeze, it seemed as though the echo of his music still remained. For voices like his never truly disappear. They live on in memories, in hearts, and in every song that continues to bring people together. And as long as someone somewhere hears a Peabo Bryson melody and smiles, his voice will never be gone. It will simply be singing from another place, forever.